Hello, everyone, and welcome to MiniTerrainDomain. You thought I was going to say the Erasmus Expeditions, didn't you? Of course you didn't, because you had to come here to be able to see this. But welcome all the same. Tonight is going to be a Session 0 for a brand new mini-campaign that is going to be set off here on MiniTerrainDomain, run by yours truly. This is going to be called Convergence. It is going to take place in a homebrew world that I created a while ago called Arrath. We'll kind of go over a little bit about what the setting is, what we might expect from this game, and go over things like safety features and safety tools, meet the players as well as the characters that they're going to be playing in this campaign, and generally just kind of hang out and shoot the shit. Apparently, I cannot shoot the shit with you in chat. I am very sorry. I have no idea what's going on, but we're just gonna wing it here. Hopefully this works. Probably before I cussed at you, I should have said if foul language or mature subject matter or immature topics of humor are things that bother you, then you don't have any business watching a single game of mine ever. You should just not try. But thankfully, all of these are adults. I think, I'm not sure, Jackson shaved, so, yeah, we're all good here, so if those kinds of things do not bother you, then you've come to the right place, my friend, and hang on tight. So, before we get things too off the ground, I do want to say a heartfelt thank you to Jake and to Dwight, as well as to Jordan, the MiniTerrainDomain team, for allowing me to come on and run this game. It's a huge honor, and I'm very, very thankful for it. And not even the smallest amount nervous that I'm going to break your baby. Yes, there are partners that MiniTerrainDomain has. They are Jasper's Game Day and Initiative Coffee Company. You should be able to type !coffee or !Jasper, and it'll bring up all of the relevant information for both of those organizations. And they also have a sponsor, Talon and Claw. They make awesome dice accessories and wooden gaming fiddly bits. I don't know what you'd call them. But if you type, see, Austin is showing off one of their, it's a dice vault, if I'm not mistaken, yeah? Looks like it. Yep, see, God, those things are gorgeous. Excellent. Yeah, the carpenter in me is like, so yes, you can type !NTD Claw into the chat, and that should bring up their relevant information. And I think there's a promo code, but don't quote me on that. You'll have to ask Jake. He knows better than I do. I think that's just about everything else. Oh, yes, of course. As always, the most important message here at MTD, and one of the reasons why I love coming to play here every single week, and why I felt comfortable running this campaign here, is because they understand that everybody struggles, that sometimes it can be really tough, and it's okay to not be okay, as the saying now goes. Everybody has had, at the very least, a very rough year. But you matter. Everybody matters. And there's people out there that if you need to talk, they're there to hear, to listen to you. And if you need someone to reach out to, if you type !help in the chat at any time, even if we're not online or running a game, you can come here and type that in the chat. And it will bring up several relevant numbers for the US and in Canada that you can call or text to find someone to talk to. There's also a link at the end of that information that will take you to a list of numbers that you can call for areas like that all throughout the world. So if you need to reach out and touch someone for help, then do so, please. Seriously. We love you. We want you around. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to my players. They can introduce themselves, tell you where you can find them on the internet, and then we're going to start chewing the fat. So let's see. First up, let's go with Jackson, since I picked on him.
Always welcome to be picked on, because it's a welcoming community here. Hello, everybody. My name is Jackson Johnson. I am a longtime AbTab fan and member. And I am the creator of Initiative Entertainment, a new up-and-coming D&D podcast producing group. We will be unveiling our brand new podcast, our inaugural podcast, Maelstrom, a high adventure set on the high seas in a poisoned world, coming to you on everywhere you can find podcast content very soon, later in the month. Check it out. I am so excited to be here today. I'm excited to play with all of these players, and I'm ready to create an awesome story with you guys.
Very, very happy to have you here, man. So I'm going to try to speed things along so we can get started. Next, we have Em.
Hi everyone, I'm Em, and I run the Twitch and YouTube channel Dice on Ice, so you can find me there, or you can find me here most of the time. And you can also find me on TikTok, where I make D&D content, Dice on Ice RPG, I think it is. So yeah, follow me there, and I'm super excited to be here, and super excited to get into this. It's been a while since I've played in a Jeremy game, so I'm super excited.
And I'm very excited to have you here. I get the chance to play with you every single week, which is fantastic. But getting to run a game for you is different, so I am very, very, very happy. As I am for all of you. This is the first time that I've played, or I've run games for... No, I think I've run a game for everybody here already, but not together. And this is a fantastic group, so I'm super excited. All right, next up, speaking of super excited, Austin.
I am always super excited to be in a Jeremy game, so thank you for including me. I'm Austin. You really can't find me online. I don't make any RPG content. I do sometimes make furniture out of twist ties that I steal from the grocery store, so I think I'm pretty creative, like on a similar level to all these people. But I am just really excited to get into this game, and like the concept is amazing to me. So let's dive in.
Austin, drop us that TikTok, man. Come on. Like, furniture made of twist ties? Where's the link, bro? Let's go.
I literally never thought to like film that, but you know, honestly, with the way that the internet is now,
You never know.
I feel like that might be my $1 million idea.
It's a niche market, my friend.
There's a kid who's made more
Tap
money.
in.
There's a kid who opens toys who's made more money than I will ever see in my life. So like maybe making twist tie furniture is the thing.
Maybe. You never know. You could be the next Justin Bieber. Speaking of the next Justin Bieber, Matt.
So for a very topical, timely reference there, Jeremy, with the Justin Bieber. He's so popular right now. Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm one of the partners over at Absolute Tabletop, and I also sometimes, rarely, post videos and do streams on the YouTube channel A Fistful of Dice. I'm super excited to be in this campaign. I've played in several Jeremy Lilly one-shots, including the awesome one at AtCon, where we were all on those big wheel bikes that you actually made miniatures of, and we got to race across the picnic tables. That was amazing. So I'm actually really excited to actually be in a campaign because Jeremy runs some kick-ass campaigns, man. So I'm pretty stoked. So thanks for having me, Jeremy, and yeah, can't wait.
Hugely appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. Excellent. All right, last and certainly not least, Karen.
Hello everyone, I'm Karen. I have the channel, YouTube channel Myth and Gears, where we do other content like Genesis and some 5e stuff like Harbinger. Yes. Anyway, I'm so excited to be here and to start this new campaign and play in this world, which I haven't had a chance to play in yet. So pretty darn excited about that.
Yeah, this setting has only been played twice on the channel before, and it was the first time that I ran Oath of the Frozen King, and the second time that I ran Oath of the Frozen King, reskinned as Vow of the Shackled Vizier. You should be able to find both of those on the channel, on my YouTube channel, that is. See? Already. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Do you guys have any kind of questions before we get started? Not like the, nitty-gritty about the setting or anything, just general questions. No? Okay, cool. Excellent. All right.
How are you, Jeremy?
Dude, I'm good. I was bummed that
Awesome.
I had to reschedule this for 2 weeks, but very happy that we're finally getting to it tonight. It was a long day of looking at the clock. That's for sure. But,
The best.
I know what I'm going to do next. So one of the things that I would like for the chat to help us with is to answer the question of where we are going to start our campaign. Should we begin our tale in Hettust, which is the cold side, or Tantharra, which is the hot side? So as we are kind of going through the session 0, just kind of drop that in the chat. Somebody, would you please keep, I don't know, a running tally or something, and we'll get a majority vote here and figure out where we're going to kick things off. But before we get to that point, how about we do some session 0 stuff? Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to do is to kind of talk over the social contract. I've played with all of you before, and all of you are not new to playing online, so I know that all of you understand, online etiquette and all that kind of stuff. Muting when you're not talking, and sharing the spotlight, taking your turn, etc., etc. We're all adults, as I said before. You can use digital die rollers or physical dice. I don't really care. It doesn't make a difference to me. All definitely the honor system, so I trust all of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this game. Social contract. Pretty much the only rule is just the golden rule. Don't be a dick. Be kind. It doesn't cost you anything. But again, all of you are very kind people, so I'm not worried. These are just kind of things I'm going over, just so that I can say I said it. We are using the lines and veils safety tool for this game. As far as just kind of a real quick explanation for anybody who might not know what that is, lines are topics. They're hard lines in the sand. They're topics that you don't want talked about or approached at all in context of the campaign, and everybody else is going to do their best to make sure that we don't cross that line. And if we start to toe over it, then somebody needs to call us on it, and we will back off immediately. No questions asked. Veils are kind of a softer version of that. Things that we don't really want to go into explicit detail about. Things that are all right to be mentioned or brought up or be skirted around, but not a focus of what we're doing in the campaign. And once again, if we start to stray too far into a veil, then all someone will have to do is just probably use the red light, yellow light, green light while we're actually running the game. So periodically just check in with each other and make sure that everybody's still green. If you're not, you want to kind of pump the brakes a little, then a yellow. And if you need things to change, you just type red light. And we will do our best to correct course. So as of right now in our document, there are no lines or veils listed. So if anybody does have any, please, I highly encourage you to go ahead and list those. Especially in our document, it should be anonymous for you to put it in there. So don't feel pressured or anything like that. But if you have any, please go ahead and put them in, and I will be considering those going forward to make sure that everybody's aware of them. Does anybody have any questions about lines or veils, or how they're going to be used, or anything regarding the social contract, or anything else? No? Okay. I hope that's a good thing. Hopefully. All right, cool. How house rules. House rules. So for the very first point that I wanted to bring up is you will notice up above my head it says domain dice. This is a thing here on MiniTerrainDomain where when you all as the audience members are pitching in, let's see, $5 tips, 500-bit cheers, subs, resubs, gifted subs, raids, things of that nature, it will earn the players domain dice. I will keep track of those as best I can. And if I miss them, please let me know. Everybody help me keep track of those because it's not something that I'm used to tracking when I'm running games. But those can be cashed in by you, the players, at any point in the future. If you spend 1, it will give you advantage on a roll. You can choose to use it after you make the initial roll if you'd like. You can adversely? No. In addition, you could cash in 2 to make me reroll a die with disadvantage. So, those are the ways that we're going to start off with, at least, to spend domain dice. Jake has a bunch more, but I don't even have them all memorized, which is awful. Don't tell him I said that. Let's see. Inspiration, however, I will try to award. I typically remember to do that as a DM, but I will give them out. You can have a maximum of 4 at a time per character, and you can use those for things other than advantage on a roll. And I'm not going to define what that is because I want it to be open-ended. But just as ideas, things like maybe you're trying to grab somebody who just fell off of a ledge, and technically it's not your turn, so you wouldn't be able to use an action. But if you want to cash in a point of inspiration to try, then I will absolutely let you do so. So if you have an idea for something that you would like to try that kind of bends the rules a little bit, toss it at me. Tell me that you'd like to cash in a point of inspiration to do so, and we will negotiate, figure out if we can get something to work.
How do you feel about players like nominating other players for points of inspiration?
Please do.
It seems warranted. Okay.
Yes, please do. Absolutely. Like I said, I try to keep on top of it as a DM. It's something that I like to give to my players, but there are times when I get caught up in the moment and I forget that I need to do something mechanical as a reward instead of just clap like an idiot. So yes, absolutely, call me on it, please.
Yeah, my instinct is always to be like, boy, that was a really inspirational moment, and just passively sit there,
wink, wink,
look at the DM and like hope that they pick up on it. So I'll just drop it in the chat or something. I'm fair. Constantly in awe of people, so feel free to shoot it down if it seems like I'm overzealous.
Yeah, because then I get to be
It was good.
asshole.
It wasn't that good.
Yeah. Thanks, Austin, but no.
I'll send it in a private message. I'll make it a private message.
Dude, don't. It's fine. Okay, so that covers inspiration and domain dice, how those are going to be used throughout the game. What else? Critical hits, yes. So the way that I do critical hits is going to be your maximum damage plus all of your modifiers. And then you roll all of your damage dice and add all of your modifiers a second time. So it'll be a big bang like that. So yeah. And obviously, if you don't remember all this stuff, it's perfectly fine. Asking me in the moment is not a problem. Something that I picked up from Jake that I'm going to be implementing in this game, because I do like the way that it works, is drawing and quaffing a potion will be a bonus action, as long as you have it on your person. Sweet. All right, so do you guys have any questions about house rules? Anything you want to bring up? No? Ruby.
I just want to bring up that we already have domain dice.
Oh, holy shit. Really?
Yep, and I'm going to use them all to create a third character.
This sounds really awful, but how many do we have?
So how many did you say for coins?
It's 500 bits is one domain die.
Okay, so then we have, I believe, 3.
We have 4.
4 now?
Yeah, one we just got. Someone just gifted it. Yeah.
Yep, just got another one, so 4.
My
You
gosh.
all are awesome. So, okay, so there should be 4 on the scran now.
Man, inspiration for the chat.
Way to go. Way to go. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. That's incredibly kind of you. I'm happy that you all are here for this session 0, and hopefully the campaign is entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, I think now is the time when we're going to go around the horn and introduce your characters. So just give us a little bit of description, name, race, class, all that kind of stuff, for who we are going to get to meet whenever we finally get down to session 1. And I'm just going to let you guys go in whatever order you want. So just whoever wants to start. Or I could roll it.
So I will be playing. Should I start with both of them, or should I just start with one? Should we do just one half at a time? What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do one half at a time. Who is currently winning the poll?
Right now,
Tantharra or Hettust?
Yep.
Tantharra.
Tantharra? Okay, so start with that character.
Okay. So on Tantharra, I will be playing an elven ranger named Arrath. And let's see, it's going to be I don't know a whole lot about the character yet. I know that she is going to be an elf of few words, and someone who's lived in the desert, navigating this harsh environment for most of her life. Mostly a nomadic person. I believe I'm going with the hermit background, if that informs. But that's about as far as I've gotten in terms of my planning for that character. She does have an affinity for animals. And I'm going to be focusing on mostly nature and animal magics with her ranger skills. Obviously, nature magic with rangers. So, but very more on the animal side than the plant side, because nothing grows in the desert.
I guess I'll go next. In Tantharra, I will be playing a Thrykeen named Okex. Okex is going to be a rogue with the scout archetype. I've never played scout before, but I really like the idea of the scout, so I'm excited to give that a try. And my basic sort of idea, I was telling everybody that I have very, very little like solid sort of image of these characters in my mind. But for Okex, I imagine that they are somewhat distant from their people. And Thrykeen don't really speak common. They have like their own language that they can produce with their mandibles, but their mouths can't really produce the sounds for speaking common. So I'm going to be kind of getting creative with that in how they communicate, and I'm not quite sure how yet, but I think that'll be a fun thing to have to figure out. So yeah, that'll be Okex.
I can go next. In the world of Tantharra, I will be portraying the character Thabanon Alcim, a half-elf warlock of the Hexblade variety. Thabanon has found a way to master a very strange fighting style involving the whip, and is far away from his clan. He is young, he is boyishly handsome, and he has a massive chip on his shoulder, and he wants to be the best that he can be. And what shenanigans that will lead him into, I cannot wait.
Awesome. So for my character, I'm going to be playing an elf, phantom rogue named Matto, and I had this idea that they were going to be a part of kind of a merchant tribe that travels around to maybe the various tribes and sells his wares. Some may be a little bit more useful than others, but to him it's all useful. It's all needed and it's all vital to your survival.
And I will be playing a dwarven cleric of the grave called Darshepsa. He's also mainly involved in being one of the lucky, if you will, people who go out into the gray to collect mist and condense it into water, called the Hartuz. I can't even say this. Hartusian, right?
Artusian. Mhm.
Hartusian. It's extremely dangerous, and but it's part of his religious duties as cleric. So that's what I got for that.
Excellent. Yeah, so for anybody who is not aware up until this point, everyone will be playing two different characters in this campaign. This campaign takes place, like I said, in the world of Arrath. There are two hemispheres. One is trapped in eternal night. It is frozen, nothing but ice and snow. And the other side is under the gaze of three different suns, and is eternally day and is a wasteland of desert and sand everywhere you look. So they're going to be playing characters on both sides of these, and our story will be bouncing back and forth between these two different sides of the world of Arrath, and we'll kind of learn how and why there might be connections between what's going on both sides and who these people may or may not be. So, we have met everyone from the Tantharra side, the hot side, the desert. Now we're going to meet all of the characters from Hettust, the cold, dark side. So again, whenever you are all ready, please take it away.
I can go first. So I will be playing an elven rune fighter named Ceci. And the interesting thing about Ceci is they are, in fact, blind, but they have been trained by the giants in the art of fighting, and so they have become very adept at sensing things that are very, very close to them. So that, yeah, that's what I have for them so far. Very, very basic level.
I can go. On Hettust, I will be portraying the character of Hadjurama the Wanderer, although you can call her Old Hadj. She is an ancient Dreenak druid of the stars, and a Dreenak in the world of Hettust is a big, old yak folk, a big, giant yak person. Old Hadj has been wandering her way across most of Hettust. She makes her living guiding people across the dreaded God's Breath Flats, a very dangerous frozen region of Hettust, around Kryn Kura. And she requires no map. She requires nothing but the stars to guide her way. And she is old, and she is just your favorite old grandmother who wants to take care of you so bad, and she's here for you.
I'll go. The character that I will be portraying on the Hettust side of the world is a giant fighter, arcane archer named Wodokin, but he often goes by Wodo. And he is someone who was raised away from his people and is just now starting to reclaim bits and pieces of his heritage. And he is primarily makes his living, so to speak, gathering Tezidorf. Is that what it's called, Jeremy? Is that how you pronounce it? It's like a moss, basically, that we hit. There's no wood or anything because there's no sun. So we have to gather moss and fungus and stuff to burn for fire. So that's his primary job is gathering that stuff up.
That's perfect because I believe that's how Yukaniltak would know you. She is a elven barbarian, ancestral guardian, barbarian, who is also tasked with gathering that moss. So they're called the Tezeskas. There are those people that who go out and search and do that. She's also a warrior, like a warrior hunter. So gathers food, gathers this fuel for the fires. And so I imagine, what was your character's name? Sorry, Wodokin?
Wodokin, yeah,
Wodokin.
Wodo.
I imagine we probably head out together a lot.
Yeah, I was actually gonna, this is probably a little too early to be starting the connection process, but I'm wondering maybe if like you have taught me how to do this and that it's almost not like necessarily a master and apprentice, but more like you've worked at Kmart for like a long time and I'm just starting there and you're kind of like showing me the ropes sort of thing. Like that would be fun.
That would be really fun. You'll be in a lot of trouble, but that'll be great.
Cool. So we both work at Hettust Kmart. That's great.
Yes.
Are we attaching the idea that we are living in a frozen hellscape of the post-capitalist world? Is that the theme we're going off of right now? I'm down.
The ruins of a Walmart supercenter.
Yeah.
I live in Texas and I resemble that remark.
Yeah. It's after the storm. Ugh.
I suppose I should go as well because I'm the last one to have to go. So on Hettust, I will be playing a dwarven bard who was an early devotee of early in his life was a devotee of the god. Is it a god or goddess of music and love and sex and
Goddess
life? That was goddess. Okay, she sounds awesome. By the way, everything she's into, super cool. So he was very on board with that, and then decided that it was more effective to spread the word through music itself, and left the priesthood to become a bard. And so he is a chatty, talkative, generally upbeat sort of fellow who's always able to find a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, these already sound like
Treshar.
Yeah. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but is his name like supposed to be play on words with treasure?
Oh no, it wasn't. I mean, I almost don't want to give this away, but it's an anagram of the other one.
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. Like,
nice.
It was like I was hoping somebody might notice, but nobody would. So yeah, there. I just wanted to like put a little bit more duality into them and like
perfect
same letters. So
they say the true treasure are the puns we made along the way.
It's so true. It's so true. See, I warned all of you before this even started. I warned you.
So I was kind of thinking that it might make sense for the two elves on the Tantharra side to know each other somewhat, especially since I'm gonna be playing such a character that's so isolated that I'm assuming like a merchant who deals with people out in the desert. You're probably like the one merchant in your group of merchants that I'm actually willing to talk to. Like you're the only one I'll deal with. because everyone else I don't trust anybody. Like, it's a very like solo life up until
I
now.
love that idea of having like a monthly, you know, like like a grocery trip that you get delivered to you like every month that my character does.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like we just have like a scheduled meetup. That's
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, if you didn't recall, each of your characters on the Tantharra side will start with a mount. These are riding lizards. They're called Badoshi, and they are effectively like a horse. We'll be using the horse stats and all that kind of stuff, but these lizards are able to store a large amount of water in like a throat pouch that they have. So they're very, very handy to have for traveling in the desert. The other thing that is very, very handy is they burrow into the sand. And a trained Badoshi can burrow a hole large enough for themselves and their rider to be able to fit inside the burrow, which is important because every day around midday on the Tantharra side, there is something that rolls through called the Scorch. It is when all three suns are at their hottest, and if you are caught outside in the light of the suns, it will burn you alive. So you have to either burrow under the sand, go underground somehow, or a lot of people carry very heavy leather tents that they have to put up and stay in for this portion of the day every day. So Badoshi are worth their weight in gold. Speaking of gold, also on the Tantharra side, water is worth more than gold. So a lot of times barter will happen, trading things for water instead of coin changing hands. I'll figure out how I want to represent that, but we probably won't fixate too much on the actual individual coins, so it probably won't matter, but just keep that in mind. What else? Oh, yes. So on the Tantharra side as well, holy water and potions of healing, the first step, are going to be one and the same. They will cost the price point of a potion of healing. They're going to be the more expensive of the two, but they function between both. They fulfill both functions. Adversely, on the Hettust side, potions of healing. I'm sorry. Alchemist fires and holy water is the same thing. Fire magic on Hettust does not work, so keep that in mind when you're picking your spells and such. Water magic on Tantharra does not work. We will work around that if something is just baked into your class, relying on one of those two things. We'll figure out a way around it. But see. Oh, why did I put this so far down the list? Who wrote this? So the elevator pitch for this world, I guess, would have been great to start with before, but, well, here we are. So yeah, it's a tidally locked world, which means it doesn't rotate, and it orbits a trinary star system. And as we talked about, the sunward side is a vast desert that never ever sees nightfall. The dark side is an expanse of snow and ice that never sees a dawn. On Hettust, there are stars that you can see most of the time. And the aurora is almost ever present, and it kind of helps people guide through the seasons and whatnot. There is a single moon. It is very pale. The god's name is Wathuk, I believe, and he is considered to be a lantern bearer for the actual god of the moon. He's called the Watchman as well. And then on the Tantharra side, there, like I said, are three suns. They are One of them never moves. That is called Huena, the unmoving one, or the South Sun. Remains stationary, and it's used in navigation. Karask is known as the Demon Eye, or the Fire Bearer. That is the largest of the three and marks the time of day. And then the third is known as Roletta, the Quick One, or Little Sister. He is the smallest and marks the change of the seasons. And all of those are seen as deities. They are kind of divine on the side of Tantharra. People pray to them and serve up offerings and whatnot. So, I think that's about all I'm going to go into detail-wise about those. Do you guys have any questions or anything that you want to bring up or comment on about what we've gone over with the setting so far?
Well, I have just a question about
Sure.
how do people keep warm on the Hettust side?
So fire does
If
work.
Fire is not an option.
No,
Okay. No
fire
magic.
works. Exactly. So
Okay,
what you
I
end
was gonna
up
say,
with...
like, holy shit, that's a cold night with a lot of furs.
Yes, that too. But so what you end up with is basically like tending the fire, making sure that that last ember, that last coal never goes out, is somebody's job in every group of people. And you have to carry that from place to place if you're traveling. And it's a very sacred position to hold within your tribe if you are that person. It's a good question, though. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Let me see. What else? Oh, so on the Tantharra side, through the seasons, there is a swell in... Oh, well, okay. I keep I keep jumping the gun because I know that you guys as players are aware of a lot of these things, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm bringing up everybody else who's watching up to speed. So between these two hemispheres that are locked in this geographical state, there is a band of gray mist called the Grays or the Mist, and it's miles and miles wide. People don't go in there because the people that do never ever come out. There's rumors of people who have passed through, but it's always the kind of thing where I know a guy who knew someone who was the cousin of somebody who went through, kind of thing. It's all myth. But it is gathered on the Tantharra side and condensed into water. So these Hartusians basically go up to the barrier, if you will, kind of where this mist ends, and harvest it from there. And there is a swell where the border of this is, and that swell passes around the, I don't want to call it the equator, but the meridian, whatever that would be, through the seasons. And so a lot of nomads will chase after the swell because when it passes, it leaves moisture behind, and there's almost a spring of life that occurs just behind the swell as it passes that lasts for, maybe like a week or so before it gets completely and totally dried out. So yeah, let's see. Playable races. I guess we'll go over that. We've met several of them on the Tantharra side. There are dwarves, elves, humans, thrycreens, and trudes. The trudes are lizard folk, except obviously instead of being swamp-based lizards, these are more like, well, desert lizards, horny toads, Gila monsters, that kind of stuff. They too can also burrow under the sand. Watch out. They are kind of the The traditional place of the orcs in a setting. They're not generally liked by a lot of the other races. They tend to kind of cause a lot of trouble. And a lot of them are kind of raiders and pillagers and things like that. But there are some that are out there that have certainly proven themselves to be otherwise. On the Hettust side, there are the Drinach, which are the Yak folk, the dwarves, the elves, the humans, and giants, which are they're all the frost variety. But they do vary in size. Some of them are only about 10 feet tall, and some of them are closer to 20. So they vary quite a bit amongst their species. Okay.
How big is Wodo?
Oh, good question. Very good question.
I think Wodo is probably closer to the 10 feet mark than he is the 20. Just because I cannot imagine playing something that is that tall and not a robot.
Oh, drat.
Surprise, everyone! That's a robot. So
It was a
cool.
mecha hack all along.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you dang kids. So okay, so yeah. For people who have never played in a campaign of mine before, something that I started a while back is front-loading a lot of work onto my players. And I know that I am asking all of you a lot, for a lot, before we ever get started. But it's something that I've been doing for the last few years, for the last 3 or so campaigns that I've run. And every time that I've done it, it has paid off in spades. So I'm definitely going to be doing that for this campaign as well. And that is asking for things like the connections between you guys as PCs, the NPC connections that your character will have with people within the world. I typically also ask for a secret. Something that your character doesn't even have to be aware of themselves, just something that is going on that is... the understanding of that is very limited and impactful. Entries for the COPE list. The COPE stands for Commonalities of Player Expectations. It sounds like an incredibly nerdy thing, and it is. But it's also very, very helpful. So basically it's you guys tell me what it is that you are looking for, what you want to experience, what you think it needs to have to feel like an Arrath game, or at least your understanding of the setting thus far. And basically, I take all of those things and put them into a giant list together. And the things that get multiple mentions aggregate up the list until I'm left with a grouping of the things that are the most popular and on down to the things that only got a singular mention. And I can go shopping from that list later on, and I can say, oh man, they were really, really wanting a lot of XYZ, and we haven't done much of that. So I need to make sure to include some of that going forward. It's a very, very helpful tool for me, the way that I run games. And then, as I said earlier in our chat, I will also be devising, I don't have the book up anymore, but it's a Dread style questionnaire. I'll be drafting up one of those for each of your questions, for each of your characters. They're very, very pointed questions. It's things like, who was the last person you killed? Or why will you never talk to your mother again? Things that are very pointed, that draw a distinct kind of line where when you answer that question, it informs something about the character for you. And again, has shown itself to be incredibly useful in the games that I've used it in. So I'll draft those up after I get all the other information and can kind of tie those questions to things. So in the next 2 weeks, before our first session, our first legitimate session, I'll be trying to get all that information from you guys so I can start putting that together, and then I'm going to build the entire campaign basically around the answers that all of you give me from those various tidbits. So, are there any questions about any of that kind of stuff? No? Cool. Again, I know I'm asking a lot from you guys for what most of you are probably used to, but I do thank you very, very much, and I promise that it'll be well worth it.
One question: is there anything that's actually no? Never mind. I'll let you keep that as a secret. Never mind. Retracted. I was going to ask about some of what we've got on the commonalities list, but I'll let you let those emerge.
Yeah. I think I'm going to keep those tucked away. For sure. Cool. Does anybody in the audience have any kinds of questions about the setting, or about any of these characters, about any of the stuff that I've discussed as far as what I'm asking for from my players? Comments, concerns? Concerns you can send to Jacob Norman. It's up to him. Or Dwight. I probably should send it to Dwight. Oh, man. Lloyd asks where his questionnaire and invite to the game are. They're in the mail. Jacob Norman sent it to you. He's gonna kill me.
Steve was asking, how is time kept? Because there's no passing of days.
So there is passing of days. It's just not day and night cycle. Again, kind of the movement of the celestial bodies, essentially, is how people keep track of that. How is their oxygen? It's a good question, Josh.
So who has their PC?
Magic.
Who has their PC connections so far between each other? I think we just got one made for Hettust and one made for Tantharra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious because I still need to connect to somebody on Hettust. So I've got a very happy religious bard who needs to have some sort of connection to somebody.
Like you're pitching your character, just looking
Who
for a
wants to be
connection.
my friend? Who
Yeah.
wants to be my friend?
It's D&D Tinder.
Swipe right, swipe left.
I'm a 45-year-old elf, or no, dwarf, with a dwarf who likes music and drink, looking for someone to connect with.
Worships the goddess of sex and music. Swipe.
But not pushy.
Yeah, I know for Hettust, Karen and I were discussing our characters potentially knowing each other. And I don't know, Jeremy, if you want, obviously there's going to be some crossover because there's not an even number of us, but if you want like multiple connections to be forged.
Perfectly fine with that.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't know why necessarily Wodo would be involved with your character, Austin, but I kind of want him to be for some reason. Like, I feel like that would be like a fun dynamic.
I would imagine that it might be like for the Hertusians collective. Is that the one on this side or is that the other side?
That's the other side.
The other side. Okay, what's this one? I forget the name. I forget the name.
Tezeskas.
Yeah, I imagine that's like kind of a dangerous glum job.
Mm-hmm.
It
And
really
so like
is.
bringing like
sucks.
he's a traveling joy factory. So he's like, oh, of course, I'll come with you out on the range, and like so he'll occasionally like accompany for journeys just to try to brighten up the collection.
Like
He's
a joy factory.
what, Herge the Joyous, the guy from the 13th Warrior, or Eaters.
Wow,
of the
that's a deep cut.
Dead. Ooh, I love that movie.
Ooh, come on back.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine for Hettust, especially for y'all harvesting that sweet, sweet Tez, that Hajirama would know any one of you. Because her job is essentially being a guide to guide across like the frozen wastes of Hettust. And I talked with Jeremy like a month ago about some of this stuff. And like a big thing of what she does is she guides everyone by following the stars to all the sweet Tez spots. So I imagine if for all you Tez farmers out there, I imagine that's how she could probably know you, is that she's just the person who guides you there, and she charges cheap too. So it's the best price you got. I'm gonna smoke all this Tez dwarf. Oh my god. Does the Tez dwarf have hallucinogenic properties, Jeremy?
That's a question. It does now.
Heck yeah.
That would be such a difficult decision. You're like, listen, I need to like heat my home, but also
well, why not both?
I need to heal the soul, man.
Quick, Grandma, stuff the chimney.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, pro
We're
tip,
smogging.
inefficient chimney. That's the thing.
We're smogging this hut out.
Austin, do you think that's how your character talks to their god? They just smoke some of the magic Tez and...
I think that's totally how my character talks to the ancestors.
Yeah. Ritual
Sweat lodge
hallucination.
style.
Beautiful.
Yep. Fantastic. A Tez dispenser. Oh god.
Oh boy.
It's got a
The
little
in
yak
jokes are
head
already
that
on the way.
like opens at the neck.
Pops off. But it's a bunch of gross moss.
Little moss pellets. Mm-mm.
Oh god. Ew. Hi, welcome to the Tez dispensary. Do you have your card?
You know somebody hotboxed their igloo.
Oh my god.
Perfect. See, I knew you guys would get along. This is great. Oh man.
So,
Awesome.
and what's your character in Hettust again?
So they were trained by giants. So they know the runes of giants, and they have that. And I imagine that they're a warrior, so they probably do some protection-ness. I wonder, for your character, Jackson, if maybe if you're the guide, then maybe Ceci could be like the bodyguard, like the silent bodyguard who makes sure that, when you lead people, they actually don't like stab you in the back afterwards, or like...
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And also like probably like overseeing like fair pay, making sure I don't get ripped off, and neither do you. I could totally see that. What was your character's name again?
Ceci.
Excellent.
I don't know if... Oh, sorry, Austin. I don't know if we would know each other very well, but maybe Wodo would have an interest in Ceci because they likely know more about giants than he does. And he's very interested in like learning more about giants and like learning more about his heritage. And so he would probably be like, you're raised by giants? I was raised by somebody else too. Like, I'd love to learn more about giants. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be cool. Just like that'd be so funny. Just like an elf teaching a giant about giants.
Gotta
And
grunt
meanwhile,
harder.
like I grew up with like, yeah, and I grew up with humans, so I'm just like a guy being a dude, but I'm like, I'm a giant. Like, I want to learn more about my people.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Yep.
Somebody brought up in the chat, Quarkling, and it's a point that I definitely wanted to touch on. We mentioned that there isn't any plant life, that there's no trees, no wood. And there is something called fungal wood, which is things made by the dwarves. The dwarves live underground on both sides, and there's giant fungal forests that grow underground, and through a process of magic, they take sections of these mushroom trunks, essentially, and soak them, if you will, in molten metal, and the pieces of the strands of this fungal trunk soaks up the metal, and then it hardens, and it forms a wood-like material that is often used in place of most of the wood. Steel is also not very commonplace. The dwarves are the only ones who know the riddle of steel, and it is actually referred to as dread steel. And most people do not care to be anywhere near it. It gives them the heebie-jeebies, and carrying it or wearing it tends to affect people, especially long-term. So most people steer clear of it. Iron is fine, but steel is not very commonplace at all.
So speaking on that,
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if my dwarven cleric of the grave could actually have a little bit of that dread steel as part of his one of his weapons, because it
Sure.
fits.
Absolutely. Cool. Any other questions?
I need a friend on the other side of the world. Okex, listen.
What was your guys'
So-
name?
I'm a bug, but I am very useful, and I'm just looking for someone to show me around because I cannot speak common.
So the one thing I was thinking was that since I'm planning on playing like an animal focused character, it would be really funny if like do you speak like lizard? Like how does this work?
No,
It's
so
like-
I speak like ant. Like I just am like it's just a horrible
Are there
clatter
any-
of like mandibles and stuff. And I think Thrycreen like also use like hand signals and others like whistles and weird sounds and stuff. So they just like don't speak a like phonetic language like other people do.
Really, I'm just curious if there's any way to like translate through an animal with speak to animals.
Yeah, I was like, I was trying to think of like a way I could do it where I could just be like have an item or like a companion or something that I could just effectively speak through. But I think I'm more interested in just communicating in a different way and not necessarily using words. And I don't want that to get like, I know sometimes that can get like, oh God, here we go again. Like Matt's got to role play his Thrycreen character saying he needs to go to the bathroom or whatever. But like, I just wanted to be like a fun little kind of gimmicky thing for the character. So.
Oh, for
I'll have to
sure. Yeah,
think
no,
about
I meant that more as like a like rare situations because that's like a spell too. So I was just
Totally,
curious if
yeah,
that was
like-
a thing that was like possible.
Yeah, like your character would be able to like actually communicate with me.
Be like, all right, I can only do this once, but like,
Yeah.
we gotta know
You're
which
like,
direction to go.
All right, you've got a minute now. Okay, go.
Is it number 1 or number 2?
Do they even need to?
Well done.
Bugs poop, right? Bugs poop.
They do something.
I don't
Who
even know.
knows?
Everything poops.
Maybe their bodies are
The
just
book
so,
says so.
powerful. They just break everything down perfectly with no waste needed.
They
They
just
have to make
shed
those,
once a month, like the whole
yeah.
exoskeleton sheds off.
Just exoskeleton full of shit. Terrible.
Mm.
It's horrifying.
Writes down some notes for a monster.
Add that to the list of the commonalities of player expectations. You want to know how the Thrycreen uses the bathroom.
Session
But
3. The whole
my
thing.
concept for the character is the entirety of session 3 is going to be that. The whole thing with Okex is I want them to be somewhat of a not necessarily an exile, but a loner, someone who was cast out or was made to feel uncomfortable with wherever they were living before. And so they're sort of like looking for a new place to not, set down roots, because you kind of never stop moving on this side of the world, but just looking for other people to call his tribe, his clan. So I imagine that he would probably latch onto people that were of a similar mind.
I could definitely see Okex hanging with Thabanon, because for Thabanon, he is a half-elf who comes from a society of elves, a nomadic Fremen society of elves. And because of his half-blood, it has caused him to be outcast of sorts. And because of that, that's why he has this constant need to prove himself. And I would imagine, like full Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer style, if the two misfits were able to meet up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'll be Herbie the elf to your Rudolph if you want.
Absolutely.
That sounds great. I'm not showing up for elf practice anymore.
Oh my god, a Thrycreen dentist. I could see it. All the mandibles. Yeah, but
As
like
if that
I can
experience
imagine,
could
like,
get any more
especially
horrifying.
yeah, I'd imagine if we wanted to play into like the themes of found family amongst like outcasts, that could definitely work with Thabanon.
Cool. Yeah, I'm into that. I think he would definitely be that they would definitely be naturally drawn to someone who had also dealt with that, like being pushed away from family.
Yeah, maybe like how we met was we were just like left alone in our current situations. We were somehow cast off, and then maybe it was us coming together that like kept each other safe from the elements or whatever.
Yeah.
And that sort of forges that misfit bond of, all right, you and me, we got each other's back.
Yeah, like even if we don't like each other, we kind of have to look out for each other, and we've likely like saved each other's lives a couple times over at this point.
Absolutely. It's kind of like,
Cool.
have you ever seen that show Primal by chance? It's on Adult
No.
Swim.
Mm-mm.
Okay, very good.
Oh,
but-
So
that's
awesome.
the Samurai Jack guy.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it has the connection of like the caveman and the T-Rex don't like each other, but they found out that they work way better together than they do any. Maybe they don't even like talk. Like Thabanon and Okex could just not understand each other. So it's just pure. It's just pure nods and whistles.
Yeah, it's like Picard and that alien on Darmok and Jalad at
Yes.
Tenegra. Yeah.
Yes.
Like we don't understand each other, but we're surviving in this hostile place, and we've come to rely on each other and like don't communicate using words.
Yeah. We don't need to. It's just nods, whistles, and here's some food.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brilliant.
I also am definitely sensing some Han and Chewie type vibes. Like if there's talking, it's
definitely.
it's him just saying, "Hey, look, I know," like whatever. You don't even have to say it.
Yeah. You could just tell by the way that the like chitinous plates of my face are shifting that I'm not happy.
Yeah. He doesn't like you.
I had a thought, Jackson. What if, and this doesn't have to be like maybe our characters don't know each other, but what if you were exiled from my tribe?
I dig that.
What if we share a tribe?
I really dig that. Right. What was your character's name again, M?
Matto.
Matto. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That could definitely be fun. So it's sort of like a relationship of we know each other because the whole clan is just sort of a part of each other, but it's not like, it's kind of like meeting someone you went to high school with. Like that kind of relationship.
And I can see some already like just some maybe antagonistic, because I imagine my character like really loves their tribe, like is like this is all I know, this is it, they're the best, they can do no wrong, and you're like, hey, they actually did, so
yeah, they're actually the worst. Fun fact. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definite tension there.
Just curious, M, what kind of elf mechanically is Matto?
Mechanically, I did a high elf.
Yes.
Made
Okay,
sense.
perfect. Because I went with wood elf because I was already like, I feel like I need to be a different tribe now based on the tribe dynamics you guys have going on. Like it seems like, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Awesome.
I'm so stoked. This is already fantastic.
I haven't quite figured out why I'm not with my tribe, and I'm wondering that might have something to do with my secret eventually. So we'll see.
Ooh. Yeah, that could be
Because
fun.
I haven't come up with it yet. So
Sure. Obviously,
it's
hand
a
those
secret
to me. Yeah, obviously hand those to me off air, individually. Whenever we get there. Yeah. Nowhere but up. Cool. Is there anything else that you guys would like to know more about, like as of right now, or things that you would like to try and establish before we start the campaign? Anything like that?
Well, I still have to kind of figure out how I fit in with this nomadic group that you've got going.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, because I would have been a priest charged with not only minding the dead and making sure that happens properly in this weird world, but also gathering the mists for the people to drink and survive.
Okay.
So I imagine I've lived obviously close to the gray, the mists, pretty much all my life. And that is probably where I'm at this point, unless for some reason I have been pulled away from home to travel.
Okay. So yeah, the Hartusians, they definitely are usually near the mists. But most of even the settlements and things that do exist aren't super close to the mists, because the superstition, the danger that supposedly exists inside the mists, most people don't want anything to do with it. So you do quite a bit of travel to and from, and you might even follow that swell that we mentioned. You might make a great circuit around the diameter of the planet.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So I'm constantly moving I back and forth, and maybe visit the settlements periodically, like gather, then go out to whatever settlement is there, then continue traveling.
Absolutely. Yeah, you probably have to come back in occasionally, to bring the water back, as well as get supplies and things of that nature. So I think you definitely would be in a position that all of you could end up together in the same place at some point.
I would say, like, I'm assuming that Arrath is enough of a traveler that maybe there was some point where we met up, and like where we kind of traveled together for a while, so we could have kind of a little bit of history in terms of like, oh, there was a time when our paths coincided long enough to travel together for a while, so we kind of knew each other from then.
Yeah, especially I guess if everybody's nomads. I could have I don't imagine like I'm an outcast, but I'm also a cleric of the grave, so I'm probably they're happy to see me when I bring the water, but they're also very happy when I go, because I'm kind of creepy and I've got that weird sword that they don't like, or mace or whatever it is. And yeah, so it kind of fits in with that whole everybody, we're all kind of, wanderers.
Can it be that when we traveled together was pre you having the mace? I want to be totally okay with the water gathering. Like, no, we need the water. I'm not going to judge anybody for what they do, but I want like Arrath to be very superstitious about like, no, what is this? What are you doing? Steel is the worst.
Oh, sure. Maybe I received that after, like, maybe we met while I was an acolyte.
Yeah.
And then now
perfect.
that I've become a priest, and I received this this holy symbol. Yeah, that would completely creep you out.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. What's your character's name?
Sarath.
Sarath. Right.
Awesome.
Now, what was yours, Karen?
For Tantharra?
Yeah, Tantharra.
Yeah, Dar Shepsa.
Darshepsa, thank you.
So one of the questions that came up in the chat is also from Corkling, and they ask, "Are bodies blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna start over. Are bodies commonly burned on the Hettust side, kind of like a funeral and free tinder at the same time?" I definitely think so. I think a funeral would probably be it would be viewed as that person's last chance to provide for their people, essentially, is probably the way that I imagine that it would look. And yeah, it would be a big social gathering, not to be too morbid, but basically around the pyre. And they would provide the heat. And likewise, on the Tantharra side, the elves, at the very least, in Dune, not Dune style, they definitely reclaim the water from their dead, and carry that with them.
Do you think there's like a ritual thing with with at least the elves, maybe, where when the water is reclaimed from the bodies, what's left is like left out into the scorch, and then it's like we all go down, and when we come back up, there's just nothing left of the person?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. It's like we give back to the great demon eye. They return to the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I am blanking on which one of the groups that it is. Or I might be mixing up settings, one of the two. I don't remember. But there is a race somewhere in one of my settings that does sky burials, that they leave their dead out to be food for the birds.
Takes Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins to a whole new level.
Wow, that got dark. I like it.
We're all about the deep cuts. Save that for Downland, maybe.
Yeah, right. Dark Disney.
Absolutely.
Jump in some bag. Cool. Mm. Oh yeah, Corkling brings up another really good point. They imagine that babies born during the scorch is when suns are all out are considered cursed, or maybe really blessed. Likely to be blessed, for sure.
Thrice blessed.
Thrice blessed, yeah. Maybe that's even what they're called. Yeah. There are no dogs on Arrath. Despite what you might hear.
Oh, okay. Weird idea. Like, what if, again, maybe for the elves, but maybe just for anyone on Sunside, where perhaps weird idea, but like the idea of like ritual scarring comes to mind, where if, say, like you're in a hole and the scorch is going on, maybe someone gets like some sort of glass that allows you to magnify some light, and like for like special ceremonies or markings of passage or whatever, people are like burned markings into each other's skin from the scorch, as like a form of rite of passage, or like a sign of growth, or just because it's crazy and it's a thing to do. But like it could be like a warrior thing, maybe, because I know Fabinon wishes to be a great warrior, And I'm thinking, what if he had just like a shit ton of tattoos all over his body that are just like burned into him from the scourge? I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's a badass idea.
Righteous.
And yeah, I think glass would be very prevalent on Tantharra. I think it's definitely something that you would see a lot of. Sure. Cool. Man, I am so stoked already. Oof. Can't wait. Cool. Does anybody have any other questions or things that they'd like to bring up before we start wrapping things up? Because that's all I've got.
In terms of like for people who have like shared backstories, do you want us to private message each other to like come up with ideas and like set things in motion, then like email you, or do you want like a three-way communication between all of us, or how would you want that to go out?
You want like a fax or like a pager?
Yeah.
Like, how do you want us to?
Do we want war pigeons? What are we looking here?
War pigeons, dire pigeons. Yeah, I guess just discuss amongst yourselves until you kind of arrive at however much detail you want to flesh out before we start, and then just send that to me either Facebook Messenger, or if you guys want, I can drop my email in the group chat that we have going already for the game, so that I can get it into like all of my notes and then use it to twist the knife on you later. I mean, to make it count later. Sweet. Cool. Okay, so where are we on the poll? Is there a way that we can see that? Which side we're going to start with?
I believe the poll is over, but the last we checked, Tantharra was very much in the lead.
Tantharra, okay. Cool. Everybody good with that as players? Assuming so. Yeah.
So you could say we'll be coming in hot next time.
I mean, we could say that, but I'm not going to.
We'll let him in.
Again, I warned all of you before this even started. I told you. Didn't take me serious. Now you will. Jake, because it's you. Jackson, you get inspiration for that.
Yes. Thank you, Jake.
Before the game starts. This is setting a very dangerous precedent, Jacob Norman. Okay, cool. So unless anybody has any other questions or concerns, anything like that, obviously we'll have the next 2 weeks to go over that. But anything that needs to be addressed tonight, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Cool. Anything else from the audience before we call it a night? Hopefully I can figure out what in the hell I pressed on my keyboard, because the keys are not doing the actual thing that keys are supposed to do. Instead, it's trying to change between windows every time I try to type, so go figure. But cool. So I think that's all that we have for this evening. 2 weeks, we will be beginning with session 1. It will be on the Tantharra side. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to getting into this and meeting all of these people. I can tell already that this is going to be a very rich group. I'm very much looking forward to meeting all of them. Sweet. All right, so I think that's it. Everyone, I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. But until then, your dice roll high, and your snacks always be within reach.